Everybody click your little box.
Perfect. All right. Welcome. Good morning. This is the DealMasters group. I appreciate everybody showing up this morning. Scott, well, actually, we're going to talk about that. I'm Joe LaBarbera. Usually Scott Spears on here also, but he's in flight right now to Maryland from Colorado, so he's not able to join us. He's gonna be showing a quick 1.5 minute video that he actually put up for us to watch prior to us getting started over here. But I know there's some newer people on there, some other people on there. Basically, we keep this pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We like to keep it interactive. It's designed for learning, not just sitting there and just listening. All right. Just for those of you who don't know, we focus on everything having to do with real estate, except for tenants and toilets. There's a whole separate subgroup on that, which meets in Rochester the fourth Tuesday. Right, Andy?
Tuesday. You got it. Fourth Tuesday.
Fourth Tuesday. That's going to be at Ferrari's in the back room over there, East Rochester. Go to the FFREIA.com website. Take a look over there. If you want anything about tenants and toilets, you can go there. Note to your heart's ever so content. The people who run that is Carl Weeks, who's done well over 6,000 or 7,000 properties. Yes, you heard that right, 6,000 or 7,000, and it's probably an underestimate. It's also run by Pat and Beth Gallagher, who own Gallagher Property Management, and they oversee over 750 units currently right now. So whatever it is you want to know about that, show up over there. We kind of steer away from tenants and toilets here. Okay, we talk about everything else. I know today we're actually going to be talking about storage. We actually lucky enough to actually have Shane Chapin on here, which Scott Spear actually invited on there for us. There's also a really quick announcement here. Typically, we also do this meeting live and in person the third Thursday of every month, but because of schedules, we've changed it. So next Tuesday or next Thursday night, we're going to be doing this meeting live in East Rochester. Typically, we all meet for the general meeting at Eagle Vale Country Club. That has been flip-flopped for just this month only. So next Thursday night, this will be live. Usually people get there by 6:45-ish. We start at 7 o'clock. We're also going to be talking about storage also. And then the third Thursday is going to be at Eagle Vale, and they're going to be talking about flipping with oh my God, what's
Brandon Rizzo.
Brandon Rizzo. I'm going to say Brendan. I don't know if Brendan. Yeah, thank you.
O-N. Brandon.
Yeah. He's going to be talking about flipping. It's also a great place. There'll be anywhere between 80 and 100 plus people there. Make sure you can get registered, go online, go to FFREIA.com, take a look at the schedule to be able to see, where and when these are taking place. Did I miss anything, Andy?
This is the disclaimer. Don't take our word for anything. Do your own research. Talk to your lawyer, talk to your CPA, talk to your spouse, your dog, whatever. It's your life. Figure it out.
Yeah, I love the way Andy puts it. Just right to the point. Yeah. So basically consult your attorney and an accountant. All right. So what we're gonna do real quick, we're gonna be talking about storage this morning, but I know Scott wanted us to play a really quick video that he sent to Andy, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna introduce Shane Chapin, who's also here. So Andy, I guess you can play this.
Let's try this and see if we can get it to actually have volume. I'm going to give it a whirl. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everybody, it's Scott Spear. How you doing? Thanks for joining us today. I know I invited a lot of you to be here today, and I'm glad you took time out to be here. Unfortunately, I can't be with you guys right now. I'm on an airplane flying to Maryland to meet with a bunch of other investors and share my knowledge in self-storage. I wanted to let you all know, if you don't know me, I invested in real estate in Rochester, New York. Built a good business there, had help from a lot of people, and I was able to sell off my portfolio and sell my house 4 years ago and achieve one of the dreams that my wife and I have had, to live in an RV. We've been doing that for 4 years now. We travel all over the country. It's been great. Another person who's played a big part in that is my good friend and business partner, Shane Chapin. Great thing about doing business with Shane Chapin is I know that once I bring him into a deal and he starts operating it, it's taken care of. I don't have to worry about it anymore, and that's why I asked him to come here today and join us. I know you're in good hands with Shane. You're going to love what you're about to hear, and I will say, in my opinion, Shane is the second best operator there is in self-storage, hands down. Okay, the first best operator is actually his wife, who's his partner in operations, Andrea. She, I will say, is the first best at all of it. I know I'm probably already been given a hard time by Joe and Andy and Shane for not being here and a bunch of other people, but you know what? That's okay. This is all about you guys. This is for you guys. I know you're going to love what you're about to hear. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks again for joining us. And as my good friend Joe Lababera says, go do real estate. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Perfect. Thanks, Andy, for playing that. I appreciate that.
Sir.
And he must have done that probably from, I assume he did that from the airport. So
I don't know. His background looks funky. I'm not sure where exactly it is. He might have filmed it last night.
oh yeah, you never know. You never know. Never know. So yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I'm going to let Shane actually tell his story here. But first of all, I mean, I've gotten to know Shane over the last few years. I actually have, through Scott, also am partnered up with Shane on 2 storage facilities currently. There's no way I would have done them without him. There's no way I would have been able to do it without him and Andrea. By the way, I have a nickname for his wife, Andrea. I call her the Andrea-nator because she's unbelievable. She is, I mean, those two are a powerhouse team. And, you know, I want to let Shane tell his story, and then, obviously we'll definitely be going over a few questions with him. And I want him to definitely be able to share his knowledge. So some of you who have questions or thought about, or even remotely thought about doing storage, he's I can't begin to imagine how many people actually pick up the phone to call him just for advice. And the information between him and Andrea is just absolutely incredible. They have it down pat, and we're going to be talking about how he's been able to do it. So Shane, are you there?
I am here, buddy. Absolutely.
Awesome. I want you to introduce yourself. And before we do that, I want you to tell them your story, because I don't want people thinking you came up from a very rich background and you inherited a bunch of storage facilities. And by the way, right now, I think you have 8 storage facilities around the country.
Operating 9 as we speak.
Oh, 9. Okay. All right. So you didn't inherit them. I just want people to know this.
Not inherit them, no.
All right, go ahead,
Absolutely.
Shane.
Yeah, I appreciate Joe. Thanks for having me on, Andy. I appreciate it. And Scott looks at the recording. Thank you, Scott, for the invite. Yeah, guys. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Shane. My wife Andrea and I currently live in Jacksonville, Florida, but we are from your neck of the woods in Rochester, New York. My wife's actually from Philly. Go Flyers, go Eagles. But yeah, so we met in Rochester at a car dealership. That's where we worked together. I think that's where our friendship, our partnership, our bond really started. And we decided to go on vacation in 2016. That was our very first cruise that we ever took with Royal Caribbean. The first place it stopped was on the beautiful, beautiful island of St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. Left the ship, took a left, and ran into a bunch of dudes from like up north, like in the Vermont, New York area. And they were renting out like $20 Walmart chairs for like $50 for the afternoon. And as we sat there on their chairs and used their umbrellas and drank their drinks and listened to their story, it's like we're missing something. Like this is actually an option out here in the world to like live different than we're living now, than being allowed to leave for a week or 2 weeks a year because our boss says it's okay. That was our moment, right? So I don't know if sometimes you have that light bulb moment in your life. That was our light bulb moment. We were just talking about this yesterday. We just saw a picture of us on that beach, and I was like, you can almost see the light bulbs in this picture we took. It led me to, down the rabbit hole of real estate investing. How do I buy freedom? How do I build wealth quickly? How do I leave my W-2? All these questions that were swirling around in my world, I was Googling, I was asking, and everything led me to Bigger Pockets at the time and real estate investing. One of the big things, the big lessons that I learned very quickly was that I needed to get out and network and get into groups like this and meet people and talk to people and tell people what I'm looking for and what I'm looking to achieve or what I'm looking to do. And so I joined, there was like a coffee club meetup at the East Ave Wegmans that I decided to go to. And I would just tell you, the very first time I went to this coffee club, I wasn't sure how long it took. It was after 2 12-hour days. So it was on my Wednesday morning, and I was going to then work another 12-hour day, but I was there at 7:30 in the morning. That's where I met Scott. And just putting myself out there led me down the path of flipping one house and deciding that was not what we wanted to do. We had no real estate investing experience. We had never flipped a house. We didn't invest in real estate. So this was new to our world. And we flipped one house, didn't like it, complained to Scott, and he said to maybe look into self-storage. Now, at that point, and still to this day, I've never rented a storage unit in my life, right? So I had no idea really what storage was about. We ended up finding our first deal in June of 2020. So joined a local REIT up in like 2018. That's when we bought our first house. We flipped that into 2019. Found our first storage facility in South Carolina in June of 2020, and we closed on that. That was a wholesale deal that we found within the Storage Rebellion. That was a group that I joined in 2019. And that group, found a deal. An individual in that network did find the deal, brought that to us. We closed on it. It was 850 miles away. At that point, we were still living in Rochester, New York. We had never owned storage, only flipped one house. And yet here we now own, 11,000 square feet, 850 miles away, 20% occupied, no power, no gate, overrun, half of a building crushed. Lots of fun, right? And as we drive the kids 14 hours down to South Carolina to look at this thing, and we're all walking around it like this was our future, kids. This is what we're gonna do. And yeah, since then, honestly, it's I put myself out there. I try to help people and answer questions. One of my little sayings is like, if I'm a half step ahead of somebody, that means there's someone I can help. And I've just tried to do that. I think that's helped us find deals, find a lot of partners, and be able to go in and learn operations, learn systems. And here we are today, living in Jacksonville, Florida, and operating 9 facilities. We're passively invested in 3 or 4 others. Yeah, it's been a fun ride.
You've had a heck of a ride, I'll tell you. And
Sure.
One of the things that like right now, well, because I want, there's a bunch of questions that I want to ask and that Scott wanted me to ask. I want people to know, you were working how many hours a week when you were up here in Rochester, and what do you think you average now? Because obviously it fluctuates depending on where you are in the situation when you're running remotely.
Of course, yeah. Well, when we were in Rochester, I was at the dealership, and so we owned the facility while I still worked at the dealership, right? So finding the deals, studying, learning, getting on the monthly calls, underwriting, and then all the all that was done while I was working at this dealership. This dealership, my Monday mornings, I was there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and summer hours we were there till 9 o'clock at night. I mean, you're pretty much standing in that dealership for 50 or 60 hours a week. And obviously somebody decides to walk in the door 10 minutes before you are supposed to go home to your kids, and you're the only salesperson available. Well, guess who's not going home to their kids at night? Because you're sitting talking to somebody that wants to think about buying a car, and they're eventually, within 6 months, they just might do so. But I'm going to sit here late and I'm going to talk to you for 3 hours about a car that all the information's. It was a lot of fun. So that was the hours that we worked up there. At this point, yeah, it's sporadic, and I'll be honest with you, I'm actually looking at ways to maybe track my time a little bit better, because I get asked this question a lot. I don't really have a clear answer because it's not definitely a set schedule. Like, we have a certain morning routine we do. There's things we check, but then throughout the day, text messages come in, an email from a call center. So it's a little reactive, but it's also very flexible, right? So I don't have to be somewhere to do what I'm doing. I can be sitting with my kids. I can be on the beach. I can be at the pool. We can be at an amusement park, and still manage our businesses while doing it. I've been in Busch Gardens in the dining hall with the kids as they're eating while I'm collecting auction payments. Like it's okay, and that's what we choose to do. But it's definitely, the hours are way less, but it's the flexibility. That's the biggest thing for us, is the flexibility in our
Mhm.
and freedom. It's really what it is. The freedom to kind of do what we want when we want. And yes, even when we go on those cruises, we're working.
Yeah, and one of the things that impresses me too, for those of you, like, you know, I'll see some of your Facebook posts, and even though I know you're working, you're on the beach. You know, I've never seen a picture without you smiling.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is fantastic. I go, there you go. Now, and I look at that, and I'm like, that's actually, it's sometimes for like, even if you're there, even if you're there working, even if you're like even an hour, putting in an hour, the beach is your office. You know,
Sure. And the big difference, honestly, there's a meme, and my mother brings this up a lot because I shared it with her years ago, and she still talks about it. But it's a business owner pulling up in a Ferrari and saying, you know, listen, if you work real hard and do your job, I'll have another one of these next year. And literally, it's like it's that was the life I was in. Like I literally, and it was fantastic. Good for them. They built their business, and that's what they did. And I was helping build that wealth for this family and for them. And you know, even when my kids see that, you know, we're on the beach and, you know, my wife's talking to a customer and handling an issue, or I'm logging in doing something, like they know that it's for us, it's for our family business that we are building. So they're okay with that, and they know that we're right there with them, and they like to be involved. They know a lot about this stuff. They're definitely not kept in the dark as far as our business operations and what we do.
that's fantastic. And by the way, for if people have questions, you're more welcome to put it in the chat. And then, you know, so don't be afraid to ask questions for anybody who has questions for Shane. So Shane, a lot of people always ask, where is the best place to find a storage facility? I'm sure you get asked that a million times. I've been asked that, and I'm gonna let you answer that, because that is like one of the top questions I always hear from people.
It's a great question, and that's very important. I would say my advice, which I didn't necessarily do when I was in Rochester, but I did know that we were uprooting and leaving and moving across the country at some point. So I kind of was pre-planning. But I would say, if I was today and I was just learning and wanted to go out and find my first storage deal, I would just pull up my Google Maps to my current location where I live. I would right click, search nearby. I would type storage, and I would search. It's going to give you a list, and you can scan out, and it'll just basically show you all the facilities that are in your area that are on Google. It would start building that list. Like, that's your list. Start putting that into an Excel spreadsheet somewhere and start calling. Make a phone call, throw a letter in the mail, and definitely, because it's in your area, you need to stop by. I would also, I'd like to, I'll say this. I think this is good advice. Know your skills. And the reason I say that is, anybody can technically could log into this call or watch this replay and decide, I'm going to go find storage. I want to buy storage. Shane says to look in my local, you know, my local market and talk with these owners. If you've never negotiated like a deal in your life or have sold anything, you need to take stock of the skills that you're bringing to the table when you're getting into this. Because you very well might find a deal and just call this owner up and just like, hey, you want to sell your facility? It's like, instead, if like you're just down the road and you call and say, hey, I'm thinking of getting into this industry, you seem like you have a really cool setup, would you mind if I stopped in and just chatted with you for a few minutes? And then you start building that relationship. And that, I would say, relationships, whether it's with brokers, wholesalers, or other investors or storage owners, those relationships that you form will be what finds you the deals you're looking for.
So do you find that now, obviously you've been doing this a while, I assume through the networking, you're finding the deals are being brought to you versus
I mean, they are, but no, I mean, listen, I've got my Google Sheets spreadsheet that I still build. I still pull facilities. I still pull them over, and I'm cold calling myself. You know, I call these people and chat with them, and send out cold emails and things like that. So we still go that route. I like talking to brokers as well. So as I meet brokers, I'll just try to keep those relationships open. Anyone that's been in real estate a long time kind of knows, like, if a facility really gets out on the market and it's there for a little bit, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad deal, but that broker has already shopped it to their buyers first. All right. They've already shopped it to their group of buyers or people that they know. And actually one of our most lucrative investments came from pretty much like a pocket listing from a broker. He had this listing, but was just first calling out to some of the people that he knows closes on facilities before then putting it out to the mass market. And yeah, so I do get deals brought to us. We get a ton of deals sent to me. My inbox is full of, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? So yeah, I mean, you get to be selective. At some point, you should always be selective on what you're buying. But I'd say upfront, yeah, just start local and just kind of work your way out, right? Just go 5 mile, 10 mile, 50 mile, 100 mile, and just kind of keep building that circle and building that list, and then get on some kind of rhythm, some kind of, like, follow-up rhythm, whether it's just, an email that's going out, every 2 weeks or once a month. And then anybody that you can meet face to face is always a good thing. And like I said, you don't necessarily need to go in like just hard charging, hey, do you want to sell to me right now? Build some relationships. It's a long game.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like what you said was that everybody needs to know what their skill is. You may make a phone call, you may find a great deal. You may not know it's a great deal, or your negotiating skills are not where they need to be. And then
talk yourself out of a good deal.
Yep. And in business, it's a lot easier to deal with people. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to do cold calls, but it's a lot different doing cold calls to business owners than it is to do homeowners. It's completely different. It's a whole different mentality. And, some of these guys, I'm sure, have you ever had someone you've talked to say, yeah, I had somebody call me, but it didn't sound like he knew what the heck he was even talking about, either that he was a novice. Have you had that?
Yeah, I've heard it many times. And that happens. And because you can, right? And you hear people and they'll say, just get out there and call facilities. Just get out there and send mailers. Just get out there and go find a deal. Well, if someone's not saying, here's how you underwrite the deal so that you'll recognize it once you come across it, and then this is some of the things you should say, and this is maybe the approach you should take with that owner. And then when the owner says this and they counter offer you with this, I mean, there's a lot to it, right? So I just want to, like, it's the network, right? So the fact that this group is here and you guys meet up all the time, like, this is the gold to me in the networks, in the groups, in the communities that we're a part of as investors, because that's where you have people to lean on when you have questions or struggles, or you're just not sure what to do. It's a huge thing to just have a network and be a part of a group like this, and be able to then find somebody that maybe is as good at negotiating but doesn't want a cold call. So you find the deal, and maybe you get someone else involved that can help get through the numbers and run with the broker. I mean, it's just knowing, like, what your skill sets are, and then making sure that you can apply them appropriately and fill in the gaps where need be.
Perfect. And and by the way, Andy, if we get questions, let me know, because
we just got one, but I think it's coming at some point here. It's about finance, good credit.
Actually, that's going to be the next question. The next question: where do you find it, and how do you get the money to buy one, fund one, whatever it is there? That is number 2. That's going to tie in perfect. So, Shane, when people ask you, where do you get the money? How do you find it? Tell us. Give us the secret sauce.
Believe it or not, this is probably one of the bigger questions outside of where do I find deals, right? Is I don't have a ton of money, and I have hundreds of thousands of dollars laying around to buy something. So our situation, when we bought our first facility, we had a personal residence, right? We had a house in Rochester, and we had a small HELOC on it, small, like $18,000 HELOC sitting on this thing. The facility that we were looking at the time was, like mid 2s, and it was an equity split. So there's many ways to do this, right? There's no right or wrong. Take that loosely. I'm glad for the disclaimer in the beginning, but really, I mean, it just has to work for everybody, right? So good credit will help you. If you have good credit and a W-2, you can be very, very valuable to an investor that does not have a W-2 and maybe doesn't have a lot of income. That could be right. That could be a good partnership because you have the stable, that stable income, that W-2 and the good credit. So somebody maybe with money, they just sold something, you can partner up like that. Giving up equity is definitely the way that I was able to raise the money for the first deal that we got. Was I just had my business plan written up, had the underwriting, went out to a handful of people that I had met through the storage rebellion at that time, and pitched pitched my plan, and yeah, raised the money and said, this is how much equity you have to give up in order to do this, and sounded good. So yeah, I mean, we put probably a total of like 12 grand into that facility out of our own pocket, and pretty much haven't really put a lot out of our own pocket since then in any of the facilities. So, and we've done it a multitude of ways. We have a facility with long-term financing. That's only one facility that we have that on. Some we have private lenders involved in terms of like hard money, private money. And then there's some equity splits involved where, you own the facility cash and you work out an equity split where the people bringing the money get whatever return they're going to get. And you as the operator get your equity piece for finding the deal and for operating the deal and getting it from closing to closing. Good credit helps, for sure, definitely, but you don't need a ton of money. But I would say, I mean, you'd want to start to put some aside. I mean, there's going to be some costs up front on a lot of things that, I've had deals where even though we're not putting money out of pocket, I was, $8,000-9,000 deep by the time we got to closing, just because of things you have to sometimes pay for and have done, costs up front. So I would say, yeah, I mean, start making sure you can set aside some money. Always keep your credit good. And there's people with money out there that aren't cold calling. There's people with money out there that don't want to operate a storage facility, don't know how, just have no interest, but they have money. One of my biggest money raises was a $600,000 cash purchase that we were able to, from the time we made our offer, because we paid cash, we were able to then close in 52 days from the time we made the offer and we closed on this property. And that one raised 100% of the funds in exchange for 50% of the equity in the deal. That's kind of how we structured that. So yes, you can do that. But I would say this is an Alex, for those of you who don't know, Alex Pardo, the Flip Empire podcast. He says, dig your well before you're thirsty. Right. So don't wait till you have a deal in the hopper to then start introducing yourself to people and potential lenders, and start talking about it now. Start meeting people now, making sure people know what you're doing, what you're trying to do, what you want to do. So when the time comes and the opportunity is there, you can go raise the money. I would also like to say that just please keep in mind, when you're raising money for a deal you believe in, you are not asking people for money. You are presenting people with an opportunity to generate some extra wealth in their life, right? So it's an opportunity that you're offering to them. So just, it's better when you start sticking your hand out for money, if you're thinking of it as an opportunity for that person and not, oh my God, I hope they give me some money, I really need some money. So just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm sure it's a lot easier because of your experience and your reputation. It's a lot easier for you now. I mean, compared to how it was to getting the money you needed the very first deal, to compare to how it is now. I mean, now do you just pick up the phone and make a phone call versus, I mean, how was it the first time you needed to get money, and how is it today?
First time, it might as well have been $1 billion I needed to roll up $200,000. It was an insane amount of money to me at the time, and had no idea how I was going to pull that off. I would say I was still even nervous right up raising that $600,000. That was a bit of a pucker capital raise there. But I would say at this point, like I don't have any mental fear of money required. That's not one of my obstacles in my world when I look at things, because of the fact that I do know I have built a bit of a reputation. I do know what a good deal looks like. and I can accurately explain that good deal to an investor in such a way that they do see the opportunity and are willing to invest with me. So yes, I assume with one well-posed email, I could probably raise, any number that I necessarily really needed to raise to put something together, I guess, at this point. And that doesn't come, just experience. Like, experience is great, but if you're really quiet and keep all your secrets, nobody knows you have experience. So something that I try to do is put myself out there. Say yes when people ask me to be on a Zoom call. Say yes when they want to get on a phone call, because this is good. It's, hey, listen, first of all, it's great practice, because this is nerve-wracking for me to be in front of a group of people, whether it's Zoom or on stage. But I keep saying yes to doing it, and I do feel like it helps me grow. But you got to make sure, again, people know what you're doing, and that'll help with that reputation piece of it, where you don't have to. Like I said, I mean, nobody really wants to invest with a stranger. I guess I'll put it that way. Nobody really wants to invest with a stranger.
That's actually a great way to put that. I love that. Nobody wants to invest with a stranger. That is 100%. My God, that is so true and so simple. That is a fantastic way to put it.
Don't be a stranger.
And by the way, Andy, did we answer that person's question?
I hope so. I think that covers it.
Just wanted to make sure. So, all right. So, and by the way, are there any questions? Don't be shy.
Leslie just threw out, how did you get your money raised the first time? What was the process? So I guess that first 200K, how did you find the loot?
Yeah, I mean, it was really through connections, right? I'm being very honest. It was Scott Spear was the one that put me onto the Storage Rebellion, had me look up Mike Wagner. So he was already part of the Storage Rebellion. He knew I was looking for my first deal, because I raised my hand and said to everybody, I want my first deal. I'm looking for a minimum of 10,000 square feet. I'd like it to be in the Southeast. And I want it to be value add, because that's what I knew at the time, and that's what I was looking for. And I made sure I told everybody about it. Every time I was on the monthly call, I made sure I raised my hand. I talked, introduced myself. I became familiar with the entire group. They just began to recognize my name, seeing posts, seeing videos. So I built that familiarity. I dug that well before I was thirsty. And I just happened to. I didn't really know what I was doing at that time, that I needed to raise money. I put together a business plan, self-storage business plan, just breaks everything down, shows what the facility is, what it's currently doing, what you're going to do with it, what your team looks like, your underwriting, what the projected returns are, all that good stuff. And then there was an individual in this case that had looked at the deal, but was buying a different deal at the time, but had money. So they already kind of knew the deal. So when I presented it, it was really more just selling myself as a person than it was the deal. They knew the deal, and they knew that it was going to work out. And so, yeah, that's really just kind of got on a 45-minute Zoom call with him at the time, and kind of talked about me, who we are, what we plan on doing, hopes, dreams, goals, aspirations, and that was it. It's ended up loaning us the money, loaded it in. So
Perfect.
a little long-winded, I guess. I don't know. Did I answer that?
Great,
Really,
no,
it's
now you nailed
know people and
it's
just
great
have a business plan.
I always tell people, get to know the people you need money from before you need them. Call them once a month. Do a 30-second call. Hey, it's me. I'm still out here looking. They know you're looking. Okay, this person's for real. And so Shane, with the interest, obviously the market's changed with the interest rates. I mean, how has it changed, or what have you seen now? Because obviously, a few years ago, the interest rates were nothing, and now obviously they're way higher. What are you seeing? What are you noticing, in regards to the storage market?
I'm definitely seeing, you see way more deals being marketed at like an 8 cap right now than you did a year or two ago, for sure. That was wild a year. If you saw that a year ago, 2 years ago, right? I mean, because things were like 3, 4, 5 cap at the time. And you're seeing a little bit more out there at that 8, even 9, 10 cap in some of the tertiary markets. So I think the brokers bringing the deals out are doing a good job educating the seller as far as what to bring it to market at. I'm seeing a little bit less pro forma stuff outside of things that were recently developed. I will say that I'm seeing a lot of things that were recently developed that are like less than 15% occupied, and they're selling on a pretty good pro forma number. I have seen that. But yeah, so I'd say cap rates have come down a little bit. or I guess going up a little bit on the selling side, and you're seeing a lot of seller financing on the table. I think more now than we were a year or two ago, even 6 months ago. I mean, I think it's really starting to take on where sellers are understanding that due to the current market and where the banks are, if they want to move their metal, they're going to have to, maybe participate as the bank, I guess. And so I'm seeing a little bit more of that in the market as well.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and some people don't know what a performa is. Basically, it's what they think it'll make. And what drives me crazy is that, like, well, yeah, it's going to make this much money 2-3 years from now. So they're selling it based on the 2 or 3 years from now. I'm like, so you want tomorrow's money today? I can't do that. The bank, even if I took this to a bank, they're not going to accept that. Okay. So I have that conversation. I've seen that, and and I've had to have that conversation. Some of them don't like it. Some of them, still in la la land, and that's okay.
Yes, Scott and I just underwrote a deal we're looking at in Pennsylvania that's exactly that. Like, this guy took out $600K. He found a hard money lender to give it to him. He was going to do all this construction on this property, and it completely tanked. They foreclosed on the guy, took it back. The guy he took out 600, paid himself for that period of time, didn't get any more occupancy, raised the rents, didn't do any of the construction he was going to do because it wasn't going to work out because it's a tertiary market in a depressed area. And these guys are sitting on a 400,000. They're owed $386,000 is what they foreclosed on the guy for. And if I run the numbers at a 12 cap, the property's worth like 300 tops, 330 maybe, 380 best case if you include the cell tower that's on the property. And so they're basically breaking even. So we actually are going to throw 250 at them and just say, hey, we'll give you 250 grand for this. And if you want to sell or finance and get your 380 or your 410 or whatever your magic number is, you need to be at like a 1.5.
Wow.
And we'll see if they bite. It's just such a bad string of business decisions, but it was 2021, right? Everything was hot. It was crazy. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story, Andy.
It's interesting for sure. And that one actually came to me through Jack Krupe, and I brought it to Scott and said, hey, let's look at this and see if we can make this actually happen. So
it's fantastic. Holy smokes.
Yep.
And
to me, I do see, and I will just say, if anyone was going to get fired up after this call and go out and start looking at deals, like, there are a good handful of deals that are new development, that are out on the market right now, that I feel they're selling because they realize that there's the supply and demand isn't what it was when they first had this bright idea 2 years ago to build this thing. It's not what it was, and they're selling these off with some pro forma. You work real hard for 2 or 3 years, and it's going to be worth what you pay me today kind of deals. So I would watch those. And it makes sense, right? Because they built a business, but they have a construction cost, and it costs them $60 a square foot to build and buy this whole thing and do it. But yet we have to look at it as a business, because that's what they built, was a business, and this business is based on income. So they get caught in this, like, but I just built it for this. It's like, yeah, but it's only worth this. So, you kind of get caught in that middle ground where, I don't know, I'm glad I didn't build it.
So, one of the things that I try to explain to people, I want you to elaborate on. People are like, well, I'm just going to go build a storage facility. Well, it's not that simple. You actually have to be able to figure out the population. And they're like, what do you mean? It's not like houses. Can you elaborate on that in regards to, per square foot per person? Because some people just once they realize, they're like, oh, I didn't know about that.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's sort of like houses. Houses have a supply and demand number in a market, right? I mean, so when you look at a market, you need to know, right? There's an average. There tends to be an average with any supply of any goods or services that are offered in our country, right? There's a limit to how much can get sold, how much is needed in any market. So in a case like storage, there's a certain metric that we use, as far as, or rules of thumb, I should say, that we use as far as like square foot per capita, right? Like, for example, in New York, maybe 8 to 10 square foot per capita is, you know, a healthy supply demand number. It's okay. There's basements up in the north. In the south, there's, you know, we really don't have basements. So the supply, or I'm sorry, the demand number tends to be higher in southern states. So maybe, you know, that 12 to 15 to 17 because of just where do people put their stuff. When you look at a market, and you got to look at the current population, and it's very like, you know, it's small markets, right? You're talking 3 mile, 5 mile. At best, you're worried about 7 miles if you're like really in a tertiary market, but you're really only looking in a 3-5 mile radius. That's where you want to be. So that's your world. Look at that population, and then you have to know the supply that's currently in that population. And you can do the math and say if there's X number of people here, and there's X number of square foot, there's currently 29 square foot per person per capita in this market. That would be a bit of a red flag for me. Wouldn't be a deal breaker, but it'd be a red flag. The next thing I'd want to know is how is the occupancy of the competition in the market? Now, if they're all full, then that tells me that this market has a higher demand than what my averages are, and that's okay. I just want to know they're full. If you come out and you say there's 25, 29 square foot per capita, and you start calling all the other places and they've got move-in specials and tons of units to rent, that tells you something. It tells you there's an oversupply in the market and the demand can't be met. And that kind of, to me, goes back to some of these new facilities that they built it for this, and now they've got to come in with move-in specials, and then it becomes a race to the bottom in the market. Who can sell it for cheapest? 2 gas stations on the corner keep dropping a penny every single day to race to who can sell their gas the cheapest, kind of thing. It's, yeah. So supply and demand is huge, and you just want to look at what's the population, but you can, you know, look at a city population. Like I said, go 3 mile, go 5 mile, know that population, know that supply.
Now, do you do that through Google Maps?
You can, sure, yeah. I mean, you just, once you find, you know, that market and you know your competition in Google Maps, you can do something as simple as right-click, measure, and just measure buildings, and you can get an idea of about what their square footage is.
Yeah.
It can be time-consuming to go that route. There are other ways depending on the market. So, like Radius Plus is one of those websites that you can buy credits, and it gives you, you know, some access into things, and that might tell you the square footage, but that's always a trust but verify. Yeah, so you can measure it out in Google and kind of get an idea, and you're going to be close. I mean, that's not an exact science.
Yeah, I've always been concerned. I've had people say, I'm just going to build. I'm like, well, how do you know it actually needs it? Well, there's a bunch of other ones in the area. Are they full? What's the population? What do you mean? Well, I kind of explained that to them. So
yeah, building is not something that, like, we have never developed, right? So that's just not experience I have. Not something I'd be afraid of. To me, there's enough opportunity out there with facilities that are already built, that are already there. So I don't necessarily need to, but yeah, I mean, I guess if I found a market and there was one facility in town and it was full and it was servicing everybody in a 7 mile radius, and yet it's a growing community, yeah, maybe that's something to buy the land. And, you know, there's different ways to do it too. You don't have to go in and build 50,000 square feet of storage. You can level it out, pour some gravel, stick some numbers on a sign, and call it RV parking to just test the waters. I mean, there's a lot you can do, but yeah, you definitely want to, going into supply and demand, you want to know if there's anybody else going to come in the market and build. How long is it going to take you to even get build, to get to your C of O? And then how long is it going to take you to get to the black? How long is it going to take you to break even? What's your occupancy number to hit that?
And for those of you who don't know, when he's talking about the 3, 5, 7 mile radius, it just depends on where you're at. Like, you know, if you're in the city, you want to be within a 1 to 3 mile radius, the suburbs 3 to 5, and then the outskirts area, what's out there within a 7 mile radius of that. So it just,
storage customers only travel so far. That's really storage. That's just the trend is that they'll, you know, they're only going so far to their stores. When it comes to boat and RV, that's different. It's either we have to be close to home or close to their destination. But yeah, for traditional storage, your customers are all coming from pretty much within 3 to 5 miles in most of these markets.
Okay. Questions on that, anybody?
The only thing I'm going to say is if people are not familiar with commercial, number one, we're talking about replacement cost or, you know, construction cost. You're always, everything you buy in a business at this point is going to be below replacement cost. So that is a scam. Don't listen to anybody who's selling a property and says, well, it's below replacement cost. Yeah, so is everything. Why do you think Rochester hasn't had a Homerama or a parade of homes in the last 4 years? It's not just because of COVID. It's because they can't build cheap enough to bother at this point. They want a guaranteed contract sale. They're not building specs anymore. And that's what you're going to see across the board. For storage and any type of commercial real estate, keep in mind that cap rates are not cap rates for single family, quad up to quads. Like it's calculated completely differently because you're going from asset value to business value. So your cap rates are completely different in big multifamily, in storage, in industrial, in warehousing. Like all that stuff is it's inverse. So the higher the interest rate that you're borrowing money at, the higher your cap rate moves with it across the country. So saying like if you buy a residential house at a 10 or 12 cap, oh, I'm going to make a ton of money. You buy an industrial property at a 5 cap and your income level, the whole calculation changes. So just keep that in mind. Debt service is really important and it's going to screw you. So you need to understand the difference between residential cap rates and commercial cap rates.
Yeah, that's a great point, Andy. You know, Shane, all right. It obviously sounds like all roses and flowers and everything is perfect. We want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's one of the questions Scott wanted me to ask.
Well, there's a couple things. So I think Gabe has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say we do.
We'll
Yeah,
go
I
to
was gonna say we have
Gabe,
a couple
and
questions.
then there's a
I
question.
apologize. Go ahead. Questions first.
Thanks, guys. Hey, Shane, how you doing? It's been a minute.
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Good. So, Shane, I want to go back for a minute about what Joe kind of mentioned about the changing markets and the interest rates and what have you. I'd like to know if you wouldn't mind sharing with the group. I should have just called you on this, but what the heck, we're here now. On how you're changing your underwriting. In terms of, the old model, of course, was, $35 a foot and a 10 cap, you're doing great. Like the deal we did in, what did we do in Arkansas or Alabama? I can't remember. I think it was a 12 cap or 13 at like 24 a foot, whatever. That was great. And we know we're not finding those anymore. At the same time, I'd like to know what you do now, like when you find a property. I mean, some properties, they don't cash flow from day one. And I'd like to know how important that is if it doesn't cash flow. If, like, if someone wants to sell like at an 8 cap, but it looks like a good deal 2 or 3 years down the road, if you always also look at that as well. I know it's a loaded question, and a lot of dynamics there, but I'd like to know what we do today to underwrite the property as well, because things have changed with the markets and cap rates and the per square foot replacement costs. It's not the same as it used to be anymore. That makes sense.
Completely, and I appreciate it, Gabe. That's actually a really good question. As loaded as it may be, it's still a very good question. So I would say some of the small changes I've made. Let's go with occupancy, for example. I think when we were first underwriting, 90% occupancy was that was the number, at least, right? I mean, it was just everything was kind of full. And again, I started this in late 2020. So this was like everyone looked really, really, really smart for like, a 2-year window there. But yeah, I mean, so it's underwriting occupancy now, like my stabilized occupancy on a facility when I underwrite it is going to be 85%. Like I'm not going to underwrite it at 90%. If I can get 90%, icing on the cake, but it needs to work hovering in the 80s. Like that's kind of one. As far as the cash flow to equity, that's fantastic that you brought this up, because it's one of the most used answers in the storage rebellion is it depends. So I'm going to use that here and just say that it does depend on you, right? On your personal goals. So some people need cash flow now, right? So we want cash flow, need cash flow right now. Equity kickers are great. And then some people are like, I don't need cash flow now. I'm good with this big equity at the end when we sell, when we refinance, whatever. So it is an individual investment choice based on your personal goals and where you currently stand. I feel like for us, we did a lot of that, like build this equity, really underperforming, not really so worried about cash flow. Let's get these things to X. Where my shift now has been, okay, we're doing that. We've done this. Those are up here, and we've got those kind of in our buckets. But let's look for some cash flow. And there's ways that any deal can cash flow if you're right. I mean, you pay cash for it, it cash flows. Generally, you can get 50-50 with investors, and it can help a little bit. But I would say I'm looking at like my exit strategy. I'll never underwrite selling something at a 6 cap right now. Like I won't look at my exit as a 6 cap. I'll look at things. Maybe if it's a really nice market, I'll consider it like a 7.5 cap. But I'm not trying to be too conservative or underwrite myself out of deals. But I don't know. I mean, the writing's on the wall, and I have enough experience now at this point over the last 4 years to kind of know where I need to protect myself going forward when we're looking at deals and where they stand. Yeah, so I mean the underwriting on occupancy and exit cap rates were kind of my two big tweaks.
No.
All right, and in that case, then Shane, I don't know if Scott talked to you about this, but if you don't mind today or tomorrow, give me a call because I might have a deal for you near Little Rock, Arkansas, about 10 minutes away. I'd like to talk to you about it, actually, see what you think and get your eyes on this property here. I've been dealing with the seller, and I haven't talked to him in a week, but I have everything put together and the underwriting, everything. I just want to run it by you, see what you think, because you're the first guy in my mind when I sell this property. I'm like, oh, he's got to have it. So just want to run it by you. So it's a good looking property.
We got a couple of other questions in the chat. Mike Perkins would like to talk about your mindset. Ying asked how much reliance you put on, I guess, how honest are people when you call them, the neighboring facilities, to get occupancy rates and occupancy status? I think that's more of a, how do you figure out if they're being truthful? Do you call directly, or do you just check their specials and see if they're discounting, right? Loss to lease type of stuff. And then the Caldwells asked okay, so when you're doing remote management, is there a process? And the answer is yes, right? Because yeah, I've looked at your business plans and you guys have it down to a science. So I guess we'll get to that.
All right, fair enough. Like, I can rip through these here. Mike Perkins, my friend, good to see you on here. Not shocked that you brought up a mindset question. Your mindset just you have to accept that you're not going to know everything going into it. Yeah, I'd say that's one big thing. Like if you wait till you know everything, you'll never do anything, kind of thing. So accept the fact there's going to be things you don't know, and then I'll go back to rely on the groups that you're a part of and the relationships that you've built, because then when you don't know something, there's somebody that already knows it, right? Like in storage, I have not come across a problem that hasn't already occurred and been solved by someone else. Like I did not invent a new self-storage problem. So it's out there. It might be new to me. It might be new to our world, and it might feel like the sky is falling in that moment, but somebody else has already solved it. And with a quick phone call, email, or text, I can get it solved. So just understand, rely on your network, and know that you're not going to know everything. Accept rejection. Like that's going to be a tough one, especially if you're cold calling. If you're trying to reach directly, you're going to hear more no's than you hear yeses. So for someone like me, from the car business, like no was our world. Like it might as well have no dealership. I mean, it was constantly hear no a lot. You've got to be okay hearing no and knowing it's not personal and moving on. So making sure you don't kind of let yourself get beat up and then start shying away from maybe making those calls because you got a few no's and a few negative responses maybe. And then just realize that moment that you want to quit is the moment most do. So if you want to live a life that most don't, that is your moment to make the decision to either continue to go forward or just fall back into your comfort zone. And that's just a personal choice. So that answer your question, Mike, man? As far as remote management, yes, Andy's absolutely right. There is absolutely a process to the whole thing. It would be honestly the same process if I was buying something in my backyard. I would just be able to get there a little bit sooner. But I mean, the process that's what a process is for, so that it's always followed. And yeah, I mean, the process really, I mean, it's three-pronged, right? So for remote management and self-storage, three-pronged system. You need a local manager, somebody that can get over there, somebody that can do at least a once-a-week lock audit for you, somebody that can cut locks, take auction pictures, pick up trash, maybe they're mowing the grass. So you need somebody local to the facility. You need somebody that's answering your phones. So whether that's you or somebody or one of the call centers that other storage operators use that are out there, you can get a call center and hire them. So now you've got a local manager, you've got someone answering the phones. The next step is making sure that you have a good solid website that your customers can go, they can find you on, and then they can pay their bills and they can rent and communicate back and forth. So good solid website, somebody answering the phones, and definitely calling people back if they're not answering them, and a local manager boots on the ground. So is there a process to finding each one of these people? Yes, there is. There's a process to onboarding each one of these, these team members and other team members, right? You're going to find a pest control company. You're going to need a door repair company, somebody that cleans out abandoned units if your boots on the ground doesn't do it. So there are processes to finding the right people and then making sure the expectations are set up front so that they perform the work that you want them to perform in the manner that you want them to perform.
Do you do?
Hold on 1 second, Joe. Go ahead, Sherry.
Just to add to that, thank you. And when you're talking about remote management and a call center and even the website processes, is there a minimum square footage that you should look for to make that economically feasible? Yeah.
Quick answer is it's 10,000 square feet. That's kind of my quick answer is it's minimum should be 10,000 square feet to be able to kind of hold its own weight. And then obviously as you go bigger in square footage, your expenses don't rise in relation to the income, right? So like 10,000 square foot facility is most likely going to operate, in my experience, in the 30, like mid upper 30% expense ratio and compared to its gross income, right? If you double that to 20,000 square feet, the income can be double, but your expenses don't go up. They're actually in relation to the income of that facility. Now your expense ratio, instead of being at 38%, now you're operating it at 33% or 30% or even 20. I do see that as the bigger the facilities and the more square footage I'm underwriting, really that expense ratio creeps into the 20s. Yeah, so I would say, I mean, obviously, and don't be afraid of bigger. It's the same amount of work. We've bought 10,000 square foot facilities, we've bought 20,000 square foot facilities, same amount of work, same thing for both. So just don't be afraid of a couple extra zeros or commas. But yes, I'd say if it's under 10,000 square feet, it's gonna be very, very difficult to really do a whole lot with remote.
Well, Shane, what's the hardest part of running a facility remotely?
I mean, you just can't get there, right? You just if something was really, really needed, I guess, but I don't can't really think of too many times that we've been sitting here going, oh man, I wish this thing was next door. We really need to get over there. Like I think you do it. If you do it right, you have the right systems in place. But I'd say yes, it's just the fact of like it'd be nice. We had a facility that had a lot of break-ins. That would have been nice to be able to go over there, but I don't know how that would have turned out. So might not have been good. Yeah, so I don't know. I'd say it's just maybe access. You really need to trust. But if you have a good camera system, good boots on the ground, that's really that combination. You can see what's going on at your facility, and your boots on the ground can report to you. So you put all the right people in place, doesn't really make a difference. We own as far as Kansas, Indiana. We owned a facility in New Mexico. Just doesn't matter. Once the process and systems are there, it works.
So we've got Back to Ying's, figuring out if the neighboring facilities are being honest with their occupancy numbers and how you do that. And then we'll get to Cheryl's got a couple questions and Caitlin's got her hand up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, neighboring facilities, you can go one of two ways, and I've done this both ways. So cold calling just in as a customer, just real quick. Hey, I'm looking at storage. Not sure when I'm going to need it. What do you guys have? Like generally be open. Like you don't want to sound like you're a storage investor if you're cold calling like as a customer. So don't, ask like, what's your current occupancy rate? Just ask them like, hey, do you have storage available? Oh yeah, we've got this, 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 and this. Oh, cool. You're running any specials? Oh yeah, man, they're all discounted on sale. Okay, cool. Like, if I end up needing like one or two, do you tend to have like more available, or you guys stay pretty full? Oh, we stay really full. We only just had one come available, or we're not going to have one of it. They'll just tell you at that point they're looking to try to sell you, right, a little bit. So and the flip side of that is I've called people and just be like, hey, I'm Shane and I'm looking at a facility that's a little down the road from you, and mind if I just ask a few questions? I think it's it's good business for owners to know each other in the market and see where we can potentially help each other. And that's been a great way. I've found door companies, I found cement companies, I found camera companies, good electricians, gate repair specialists from just calling the other owners and just letting them know who I am. And it's a 50-50, but how honest are they? As honest as anybody is, I guess.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I think I have recently tried to change my strategy towards the second one you just mentioned, just because I felt sometimes not to be exactly truthful is really kind of backfire. I feel like in my heart, I'm not really actually renting something. So as much as I try to be as that customer to approach the owner, I find just the authenticity in my voice. I can feel that is just not who I am, and so the flip side is how truthful do you expect someone to actually answer that question, right? So, and then how accurate, like they won't give you enough information to really say, okay, I think this adjacent facility is about 85%. I wouldn't be able to tell that, but he or she can say, oh, I have a couple available for this size and a couple available for that size. A couple of is hard to really quantify it. So I start feeling like maybe I might as well just say, I'm actually looking at something that in this neighborhood, I really just want to have a chat with you. I think that is actually probably gonna result with a better, more accurate information that I would like to need. So I'm glad that, have you had a situation where you underwrite something, let's say you purchase it, and then the actual occupancy was actually quite different than what you anticipated, as much as you conservatively underwrite 85%? Like, have you seen a bigger gap
in like the occupancy of the facility that I'm buying in compared to what I thought it was when I was going into it? Yeah, that I'd say that probably happens more often than not. Like and once the dust settles at closing and you really figure out your rent roll, there's a good handful of people in that rent roll somewhere that aren't actually there, or not actually paying. And so once you kind of clean that up, yeah, if you're going into something and you think that you're walking in at a 75% rent roll, maybe it's a little bit lower. Or maybe, yes, there's been cases where I thought we were going to get to this occupancy at this time and we haven't. We've gotten to this occupancy. But that doesn't necessarily mean we missed something up front. That could mean that I'm screwing up my marketing. So,
gotcha.
It doesn't mean that. But I will say, let me just echo that when I changed my strategy of calling customers was when I think at the time 12-year-old was sitting on the couch, heard me cold call a facility, give him some story I was giving him, and when I hung up, my daughter looks at me, she's like, who? What are you talking about? I was like, honey, this was. She's like, so you lied to him? I'm like, damn, kid, all right, I won't. I'll just tell him who I am. So I stopped, honestly. That's what shifted me to be like, all right, I guess I feel like a big jerk now, so I can't do that for my kids. So I'll just tell people I'm looking to buy a facility and I hope you help me. So there's that.
Thank you. Yes, thanks.
That's awesome. Let's see. So Caitlin did put her hand up, but let's get Cheryl's because they were up a couple seconds beforehand. So the first one is, how do you feel about buying software that claims to be able to find off-market deals? And then how do you find contact info for distressed property?
Great questions. First, at this point, at least in my world, I'm not buying any software that somebody I implicitly trust is already using and has history with. That's just kind of where we know enough people in the industry to find the right software. So I mean the claim. I don't know if you need to do that up front. I don't know if that's necessary. You can do the free version of finding them in your market. Now, if you're in a market that you don't want to invest in, or I don't know, maybe you live in the middle of Los Angeles and that's just not a thing. So you can buy them. It's just a trust but verify with the lists. And I don't think it's a bad thing, especially if you're going to do some kind of a campaign, like a text message, phone call, or mailing campaign. You can definitely get 1,000 facilities across the country in one list that you can then pump into a system that'll kick out a bunch of letters if that's what you're doing. That's one approach to finding deals. The other is what we call the sniper approach, where instead of just blasting it out to every facility in the country hoping someone wants to buy, you look in a market that you'd like to own in, and then you look at facilities that are of the size you want to own, and then those are the facilities you start to target. You ping in this one facility in this market, this second facility in this market, and that's what I'm going for. So yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. You can buy a list. I just never suggest people need to get software, but like Crexy and things like that do offer some paid versions of things. How do you find the contact information for rundown properties? I'll tell you what, most of the properties, if it's run down, they didn't take time to hire a call center. So call the number on the sign and you're going to get the owner. Because they're not managed. Somebody that's managing a property well has a call center. They have a team. It's not being mismanaged. So you find something run down, I would just call the main number right on the building, right on Google, whatever you see, and good chance you're going to end up getting to the owner. And if not, then yes, you can also find information. I go to any county. If there isn't a number, that's even better. That's even better than if it's close to you, go there. If it's not, and there's just a mailing address, you could do a letter. There are skip trace companies out there that could probably find an individual number. Tax assessor's website, go to that county, go to that tax assessor website. I find so much information in there. You'll see the actual like parcel boundaries, owner information, most recent tax assessment, how much the taxes are, and the owner's name and mailing address. You take that owner's name and mailing address, put it in truepeoplesearch.com, truepeoplesearch.com. That thing is scary accurate. Put your name in there and see what it comes up with. Yeah, so that'll actually, you can find people's phone numbers and emails through that as well, and that's free. So that helps.
Don't forget, you can also see if they've paid their taxes on time or not.
Yeah, that'll tell you that too.
Was there, Andy, I think there was another question.
Caitlin's hand is up.
Hey Shane, thanks for being on.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. So yeah, I know you got into storage for time freedom and getting out of your W-2, and just reflecting back personally, are you happy being like the Shane Chapin, the operator in storage? Are you happy how you kind of fell into that role of it? And knowing what you know now, what would you do? What would you do differently in the beginning when you first started?
It's fantastic. That was great, Caitlin. I appreciate that. I love the father I get to be and the husband that I get to be today because of the decisions I made. So that is the biggest benefit that we've seen in our world, is the extra amount of time that our family's been able to spend together because of leaving that W-2. Do I enjoy being the Shane? I better. I'm in trouble. my mornings are way different if I'm not happy with who I'm waking up to be. But no, I mean, I think honestly, we spoke this into the universe. And so I kind of feel like everything that has happened was kind of exactly what was supposed to happen and how it was supposed to happen. So I don't know, I'm not big on like maybe doing a lot different. I think maybe early on, well, let's go with this. Yes, hindsight, there's a bunch of deals I would have bought 2-3 years ago that I said no to that, boy, I wish I would have said yes to. I'll tell you that much, right? So that's part of my hindsight is, damn it, I wish I would have bought this, and that thing. but we didn't. And the other side of it is maybe I would have been willing to go bigger faster. You know, maybe I wouldn't have been kind of so afraid or felt the need to just stay around 10,000 square feet for my first one. You know, maybe I would have done something like that. And then I think like to be better at putting myself out there actually, and better at the content I'm creating and the advice I'm giving and the people I'm helping. So I do enjoy the role that we found. Do I want to like be the operator and talking to the call center for the next 20 years? Absolutely not, but it's part of the journey. And I can't teach people something that I've never done. So I like being involved in all aspects of it as I go so that I'm able to then help people.
Cool. And as a follow-up, thank you for that. As a follow-up, what those couple of facilities that you, or those deals that you passed up on in the beginning, what about them made you want to pass up on them? Did they just not meet your 10,000 square feet minimum, or was it just kind of too scary?
Yeah, I would say the ones that I'm thinking of were bigger deals. Definitely bigger deals that maybe just felt too big at the time, right? Maybe just felt too big. We were just talking large numbers, and maybe it was a bit of intimidation, maybe a little bit of lack of self-confidence that I was really underwriting, to this magnitude correctly. Or just honestly, I mean, it's just looking back and knowing where things were selling. I don't know. There was a couple of things like in 2020, 2021 that like, I think would have made sense based on, obviously the knowing what happened in the 2022, 2023 kind of thing. So it's just, well, I like to look back at those things and educate myself and ask myself that exact question. Like, why didn't you do this? What was it about this deal that made me walk away or say no or not put in an offer, so that at least I can move forward with that knowledge and at least use that as a lesson.
Great. Thank you.
So here's one. Have you spent any time actually documenting your journey from when you started to now? Like, have you do you have your old underwriting and stuff that you can go back and look at? And, are your records saved of kind of like what you did and how you did it and why you did it, the way you did in the past? And how does that look now in comparison?
I am a fairly organized individual, so I do have, I'd say, most everything I need. I do have it, and I do know where to access it. No would be my first answer as far as like, did I really document properly what I was doing as I was going? No, not with the kind of the foresight of what was, what I wanted to do with that. Right. I didn't like buying King Street. I didn't realize I didn't realize like in 4 years, I'm going to want to know all this, but I do have every underwriting I've ever done. Right. I'm going to have all those. I have a dead deal folder that's got every deal I've ever underwritten that I didn't buy. They're all sitting there. Every deal that we currently own is separate, and all of their analysis are there. So I do go back to those, see how right or wrong I am at this time. And, so I do have those things, business plans. So yes, I do also have a folder on my computer called SOP, and that has been kind of getting built and put together. But I agree. I mean, making sure that I am documenting this, because that's sort of what I was saying to Caitlin. Like, I wish I was better at that and had kind of thought about it ahead of time, because it feels like I'm gonna have to play a little bit of catch up.
That's cool. Thanks.
Any more questions for right now?
Chat looks good.
Perfect. So Shane, obviously there's people on here that own, obviously not just storage, but also a lot of residential properties. I myself also, and there's people out there who've never even done storage or looking at storage, thinking about storage. And the number one question is, why storage compared to residential? So when someone comes up to you and says to you, do you count it? Because the funny thing about it is that if you talk to somebody who owns storage, and it's so funny because all of a sudden I'll talk to somebody like, oh, Joe, do you also own residential? I'm like, yeah. They're like, what? You almost feel bad. It's just like, oh my God, don't let people know I own residential. It's kind of funny. But one of the things that, a lot of people ask that. I want you to elaborate on what the difference is, everything, because obviously there's good and bads in both at the same time. you know,
Yeah, for
rather
sure. And
than-
I do think there was like this weird swing of like, I think when storage started getting hot, right? And there was this kind of mass exodus from other niches over to self-storage. It became the shiny object. And I think a lot of people just started just coming to it and getting out of the residential. I do know that if you talk to a residential real estate investor, they could spend an hour telling you why it makes more sense to do that than to buy self-storage. You can talk to a mobile home park investor and they can tell you why that's better than both self-storage and single families. And you talk to a self-storage investor and they're going to tell you why it's better than the other two. So it is, starts with your why, your personal preference and what you do, what your skills are. The biggest differences to me are expenses, right? So expense ratio is kind of a big difference in the self-storage world compared to like multifamilies and single families, things like that. It just is a lower expense ratio in general, right? You just have less cost, less moving pieces, less overhead type things in storage than maybe you do in like residential or an apartment. The other thing I think is just because you have so many doors that you can make such big value swings with small moves by pulling little levers. So for example, you go into a 200 unit facility, right? And you raise everybody's rents $9 a month, right? Just $9 a month, once a year. That $1,800 a month times 12 is 21.6 at an 8 cap, right? So that's like $270,000 in value just to the property by raising rents a few dollars, right? So like, because you have those economies of scale, you can increase value quickly. And I think occupancy, right? So like we have a few customers leave in storage, you go from 87 to 85. Both your people leave your duplex, you go from 100 to 0. So I think those are, to me, some of the big benefits. And I think it is recession resistant. I think, people will say that, but it seems like people need storage kind of no matter what's going on, whether we're out buying a whole bunch of stuff and we need somewhere to put the old stuff, or we're downsizing and we need somewhere to put stuff. And it always seems like storage is, in demand. I mean, that housing isn't, but those are the differences that I've seen.
Well, what do you, and in regards to, you have a tenant or a person who's renting a storage facility from you, they don't pay, versus someone who's living in an apartment or a house, they don't pay. What's the difference time-wise, easy-wise, hard-wise?
Great point. I apologize that I missed that, because it is one of the better things about self-storage is the lien laws, the state lien laws across the board. I mean, I like I said, I've owned in New Mexico, Kansas, Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, and they're all like similarly easy. So somebody doesn't pay their storage bill, 8 days later, you're allowed to lock them out. They don't even get to go on the facility anymore just because they're 8 days late. At 14 days, a pre-lien can begin. The pre-lien process can begin. At day 30, the auction process can begin. Sending out notifications. So notifications can be sent via email, and that in most states is actually qualifying. So don't even need the certified letters. I will say we do certified letters. I'm a CYA guy and it's worth a few bucks to me. So I do certified letters before we ever auction anybody's stuff. But a lot of states don't need you to. Yeah. And then by day 60, I mean, you have an auction. That's it. 60 days from the day they stop paying you to the day that unit is empty and rent ready. You're talking about a 60-day window. Never see a court, never talk to an attorney. Everything's done online. You never met the auction winner. So it's very easy. We just post, auctions online, and that's it. I mean, and we don't enjoy doing it. I mean, I'm not saying this like, haha, I love getting rid of people's stuff, but and we do really work with people as much as we can. We do payment plans. My wife is the one that really, really is so much better with people, with customers, with handling people in like a human way. That, we try to work with people, but at the end of the day, it's way easier to kind of get your space back if you need to.
So adding on to that, I know you said you can lock them out. Obviously, most of your places are gated, I would assume. And if they're gated and there's a code on there, how quickly or how fast do you do a lockout? Do you have to get on a plane and go there, or do you have to have your boots on the ground and do that? Or how do you do that when you have a gate and you have the code?
When you have, yeah, you'd want to tie your gate in with your software. So your gate will tie to your software through either PDK or Spider Door. It's another good one. What essentially happens is at midnight on the 7th, if their payment hasn't processed, their code that's assigned and unique to that customer in the software instantly goes dead, goes off. Like the code just doesn't work. So on the morning of the 8th, they go to the gate, they punch in their code, it just beeps red, and it won't open the door. It won't open the gate. All they have to do is call in or log in, make their payment. As soon as they make their payment and their balance is brought to current, that lockout just instantly goes off the account, and they can then access their unit. For facilities that we don't have a gate for, we use what's called Da Vinci locks. Any variation of a combination lock really works. But yeah, they're called Da Vinci locks. It's a combination lock that has a serial number on it. And so those combinations can be loaded into your software, where anybody with access to your software, like your call center, your boots on the ground, your manager, whoever, can see the combination. You assign lock 1, 2, 3 to unit this, and it goes in the system. So you can overlock a customer that way, where they show up to their unit. If you don't have a gate, they go up to the unit and they have an overlock, where it means they can't slide the latch. Then they call in, I have a red lock on my unit, what's going on? Or you have a magnet that says you're overlocked for non-payment, and they make their payment. And then you can just give them over the phone, you can say, this is the combination to the lock. The drop box, return box is on the office or on the door, on the gate, on the fence, whatever it is. And that's it. So yeah, there's no traveling. Everything's done in the systems, in the software, electronically.
Just with a push of a button. That's fantastic.
Right. Other than your boots on the ground is the one that needs to put your combination locks on the units, do the overlocks, things like that.
And anyone have any questions on that, by the way? I know we've only got a few more minutes here, so I want to make sure we get to questions. Everyone's good. So real quick here, I know the other thing too is most people think, like, and when it comes to the rental part, it's just, here's the rent, here it is, here, here's what you get charged. Explain what, besides obviously the, what you're getting on the rent per storage, what also adding in renter's insurance can also do for your bottom line and to the value of the property.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's other ways that you can generate income at facilities, right? Same reason that public storage sells boxes and tape and things like that. There's ways to generate additional income streams other than just your unit rent. Tenant protection is a big one. To me, it's one of the best ones, because the customer is actually getting something in exchange for the extra that they have to pay. So that tends to be one of the first things I'll implement. Before I do like a rent raise, I would actually implement tenant protection, get them to agree to pay a little bit more for something like that before I then work into rent raises. So tenant protection is huge. It protects the customers. They can choose $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 worth of coverage. 5,000 is the max. It's in our lease that we can't store items with a value higher than $5,000 anyway. And then they have protection. So if something does happen, right? Something, mold or flood, or a mouse ate their couch. I mean, things happen, or a theft. Let me tell you, our tenant protection company was very busy in Georgia for a while, dealing with a lot of customers. So theft, they'll get reimbursed for that. So it's a good value, and it does add revenue. I think the last time I had a reporting summary that I shared, I mean, portfolio wide, just the tenant protection income alone, I think, was adding mid 300,000s of value to the portfolio, just from the amount that we collect every month in tenant protection. Obviously, then you have some like late fees, like an upfront administration or new account fee is something that a lot of people miss, but it definitely adds to the bottom line. And then you'll just have your normal fees, right? People have a late fee, you'll have some kind of a lien fee, a lot cutting fee, unit clean out fee, auction fee. And kind of there's a lot of different things you could do, but as far as value to the customer, the good paying customers, yes, I mean, just add tenant protection in there. And then you can do things like they could rent your lock for a month. We charge $10 a month for 24-hour access to our gates. We don't just give that to everybody. We just have people pay for that, because most people don't need to access facilities overnight. Different ways to kind of pull some revenue into other than just the rent.
Yeah, I mean, it's because that has to make a huge difference on the back end when you figure out the value of the property. And I'm sure you take that into account when you're underwriting. When you see a property and it's just a mom and pop, and all there's no tenant protection, none of that point, there's nothing there. I'm sure you take that into account. I mean, obviously you use what numbers are giving to you right now, and then for future value, you can add that on down the road, which obviously you're going to exponentially grow the value of that property. Very
right. I can go back through my portfolio and I can really add up the fees, kind of the fee income or additional income that we've received moving forward. When you underwrite it, I know that I get about, say, it's 35 cents a square foot in just additional fee income, whatever, across the board. Then yes, I kind of pop that in somewhere, because I do know that after I own this facility, once I take this over, I am going to have tenant protection. I'm going to have these late fees. I'm going to have this. And I do know that I'm going to be able to get, 30 to 40 cents a square foot in just fee income alone. And that needs to be put in the underwriting for sure.
Yeah. It's
Joe, we got Caitlin has her hand up here.
Go ahead, Caitlin. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks. Shane, couple more nitty-gritty questions here, but do you ever run move-in specials specifically when you're buying a low occupancy facility? And a second question is your boots on the ground. What is a good metric to use for paying them? Sometimes people give them a free unit, a free couple units, but what do you typically, how do your arrangements typically go?
Yeah, those are what do you call them, nitty-gritty questions? Those are good. Yeah, I'd say for the boots on the ground, it's a little bit different. It'll depend on the size of the facility, right? I mean, if I have my boots on the ground on a 30,000 square foot facility, I'm going to pay them differently than my boots on the ground at 10,000 square feet, right? And yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of different. I have, one that he also mows the grass and has a unit, and we kind of worked that out. Another one, he doesn't have a unit. He mows the grass. I pay him separate for the grass mowing, and this for the boots on the ground payment. I tend to pay them anywhere between $250 to $500 a month. I tend to ask them, or I tell them up front, it's going to take maybe 2 hours a week. All right. Doesn't take that long. Like especially once you get going, right? Maybe up front, there might be a little extra to clean up, a little extra to do, but really once it gets going, a couple hours a week is all the boots on the ground needs to go over there to do some lock audits, maybe cut a couple locks, take some auction pictures, pick up trash, and they're on their way. So if I'm giving them, right, I mean, $250 a month and they're working 8 hours, I mean, they're talking 30 to 50 bucks an hour, depending on what, and that's kind of how I present it. And I don't track their hours, and they get what I agree every single month. And as long as things are doing what they're supposed to be doing, that's kind of where we're at. And then you just spot check them. And could you refresh me on the first part of your question?
Yeah. Move-in specials. Do you ever run those, especially when you buy a facility that's really low occupancy?
They do. And I've actually recently changed my thinking. I have move-in special across the board at every one of our sites. Even if it's 10%. It's more of I talked to somebody that's really good at marketing, and they kind of made a good point. They're like, I mean, if somebody looks online and they just shop you to one other place and they've got some kind of a deal and you just have no deal, where are they going to go? Like maybe to the place with a deal, right? So I agree with that. Across the board, I have 10% military appreciation. Those are built into the software. Anybody gets it when, they are military. But yeah, I think moving specials are a great thing. You can choose by size, right? So like all your 10 by 10s are full, but your 10 by 20s are only 70%. You can have a move-in special just on the 10 by 20s. But I do think it's a good idea to have move-in specials at least some form or fashion showing some kind of a discount depending on the market. I have one facility that honestly we've lived in the 90s, the very first facility we bought, and I don't run any ads. And I haven't run a special there, but everywhere else, yes, we run specials monthly.
And you can do those specials through your ESS or whatever platform you're using.
Yeah, cool. The software you use will have the ability to put specials into their start dates, effective units, which units your special is going to affect, and an expiration date as well. So, and you can have them automatic, you can have a manual, you can put in a code, so that if you're tracking where, Facebook 50, if you want 50% off, you can put in coupon codes and things like that as well. So there's a lot you can do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, it's a few minutes after 10:30, and we like to be respectful of everybody's time, especially Shane's time, because I know how busy he is, taking time out of his morning over there. But I wanted to say, first of all, Shane, thank you so very much for being on the call, actually being on the Zoom call here, and especially sharing your knowledge with all of us and taking our questions. Obviously this is going to be up on YouTube, so if people want to watch it again, there's a ton of information people went over here with, and obviously there's going to be more. If you ever, I don't know if Shane, I don't know if you want to put it out to people, if they ever want to bring something to you or share something with you, it's up to you. If you want people to be able to reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. First, our website is chapinfamilyproperties.com, and you can reach out to me via email, chapinfamilyproperties@gmail.com.
Awesome. And
I'm on social media. I guess you can find me there too. That's just Shane W. Chapin handle across the board. So happy to help. I'll do what I can. It's only so much time.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that very, very much. And I appreciate everyone also being on the Zoom linked Zoom call this morning. Hope everybody has a great day. We try to get done by 10:30 because I know people are busy, have things going on. I'll stick around for a few extra minutes just in case, but I know some of you do have to go. Some of them sneak down from work and are listening and try not to get in trouble. And but those you have to leave, thank you very much. Get on the FFREIA.com website, check out the schedule, and as always, go do real estate. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great day. And
thanks for having me on, Joe. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Andy, for helping and having me on. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Look forward to hearing from you. Good luck. If I can help in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Shane, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah. Shane.
See you guys later.
Thanks, Shane. Have a great day. Have fun at the beach.
Right.
Yeah, maybe today, maybe I will. I'll see you guys.
Oh man, Andy, thank you so much for helping out. Holy smokes.
Yep, this is a good one. We'll put this once this is done, it takes about an hour for it to change it into whatever we can put up on YouTube, and then we'll throw it up so people can see it. We'll put the link up on Facebook.
Yeah, they can go check it out on there. And I think Scott's probably still in the air right now, but so we'll see here. And then I forgot about next Thursday night, we're going to be doing this live.
Yep.
So for
without Shane.
Yeah, without Shane, of course. Shane's 1,200 miles away.
Yep. And
plus,
good for him.
Yeah, and plus wherever the beach is. So I had a couple miles out for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mm-hmm. And but I think we're pretty much all set.
Awesome. Nobody else has any questions or anything like that. We'll see you Thursday of next week, and then we'll be at the golf course the following Thursday.
Awesome.
Rizzo. So
Brandon Rizzo.
Yeah, there will be pizza and there will be salad, and then you can buy your own booze.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
See you guys.
Take it easy, everybody. Thanks.